Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Annie, and in this video I will be giving my thoughts on Stephen King's novel Pet Sematary, and I will also be giving a brief summary. I haven't made a video in quite a while, so I might be all over the place. Not that I'm not always all over the place, but I haven't made a video, I think, since July because my dad died, and I just was going through a really hard time. And anyway, here I am, and I told myself that I was going to read all of Stephen King's novels in publication order and make videos on it, and even if nobody watches it, I told myself I was going to do it. So I'm trying to just follow through, because I'm good at starting things, but I'm really not good at finishing, so that's why I'm here. Anyway, I'm going to give some fun facts on the novel Pet Sematary, and then I will give a brief summary. So because I'm disorganized and I can't retain any information lately, I have written down what I want to say, so if you see me reading, I am. So some fun facts on Stephen King's novel Pet Sematary. Pet Sematary was published in 1983 by Doubleday. Stephen King published Pet Sematary because he had to. His contract with Doubleday was over, but he still owed them one more book before he could sever ties completely. King is quoted as saying, "If I had my way about it, I still would not have published Pet Sematary. I don't like it. It's a terrible book, not in terms of writing, but it just spirals down into darkness. It seems to be saying that nothing works and nothing's worth it. And I don't really think that." So, another fact, the inspiration for Pet Sematary came to Stephen King in 1979, which is the year I was born. When he and his family moved into a rental house in Orrington, Maine, which was located next to a busy road which semi-trucks would drive down at high speeds, a neighbor warned King to be mindful of his young children and pets near the busy road. Near the road was a makeshift pet cemetery where local children buried their deceased pets. King's daughter Naomi's cat, Smucky, was hit by a truck on the busy road, leading him to have an uncomfortable conversation with his daughter about death and having to bury Smucky in the pet cemetery near their home. Around the same time, King had a close call with his young son Owen, when Owen ran toward the busy road only to be pulled back by his father. These events had King's mind thinking, what if a dead pet could be resurrected? And what if a dead child could? The fictional town in the book Ludlow, Maine, is based on the town of Orrington, Maine, where Stephen King rented a house next to a busy road, as mentioned before. References to other Stephen King books are mentioned in Pet Sematary. For example, when Judd Crandall mentions an event that happened a few years prior to the story, where a rabid St. Bernard killed 4 people upstate, which is a reference to his novel Cujo. And when Rachel Creed is driving and passes an exit sign that read Jerusalem's Lot, which of course is a reference to Salem's Lot. Stephen King once said that Pet Sematary is the only novel that he has written that really scared him. Pet Sematary was first adapted into a movie in 1989. It stars the late Fred Gwynne, who is most famously known for his role as Herman Munster from the 1960s sitcom The Munsters. Dale Midkiff, a character actor who played Elvis Presley in the 1988 made-for-TV movie Elvis and Me, and Miko Hughes as 2-year-old Gage Creed. Miko Hughes is the son of the late iconic writer and director John Hughes, who was known for such 80s classics as The Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Some Kind of Wonderful, Weird Science, and many others. Dee Dee Ramone also wrote a song called Pet Sematary, which was played at the end of the movie and won a Razzie Award. A less popular adaptation was created with Pet Sematary 2, and most recently it was adapted once again in 2019 and stars John Lithgow as Judd Crandall and Jason Clarke as Lewis Creed. So those are my fun facts on Pet Sematary. The story begins when a doctor named Lewis Creed gets a job as a physician at the University of Maine and moves his family, which includes his wife Rachel, 5-year-old daughter Ellie, and her cat Winston Churchill, who they call Church for short, and 2-year-old Gage, from Chicago to the New England town of Ludlow, Maine. Upon arriving at their new home, they meet their elderly neighbor, Judd Crandall, who lives with his wife Norma in the house across the street. The 83-year-old man has lived in the same house his entire life and warns the Creed family about the busy highway that runs past their house, informing them that semi-trucks that travel the road drive very fast and to keep a watchful eye on their children and pets. Judd offers Lewis an invitation to come over to have a few beers. Lewis accepts and is pleasantly surprised that he actually enjoys the old man's company. Lewis looks to Judd as a sort of father figure. A few weeks after the Creed family move in, Judd takes the family on a walk in the woods behind their house and shows them a well-tended path that leads to a pet cemetery, where the local children bury their deceased pets, most of which were killed on the busy highway by their house. Lewis's wife, Rachel, is concerned with exposing their daughter to the cemetery, as his wife has serious unresolved issues about death and will avoid the topic at all costs. The reason for this is because as a child, Rachel had to watch the long and painful death of her sister Zelda, who died of spinal meningitis. A horrific accident occurred on Lewis's first day at his new job when a man named Victor Pascoe was dropped off nearly dead with his brain spilling out of his skull. This man had an ominous message for Lewis. And that night, Lewis had a terrible nightmare that seemed all too real, in which Pascoe warns Lewis not to bury anything beyond the pet cemetery, a graveyard that he doesn't know exists, but will soon enough. When Thanksgiving break comes along, Lewis's wife Rachel takes their 2 children to Chicago to visit her parents, while Lewis stays home, because he has a very strained relationship with his in-laws. During this time, Ellie's cat Church is killed after being hit on the busy highway near their home. Judd helps Lewis with Church and brings him to the mysterious graveyard beyond the pet cemetery, the one Pascoe warned him about. Judd explains the history of the land and how it was once an ancient burial ground that was once used by the Micmacs, a local Native American tribe. Following Judd's direction, Lewis walked carrying Church's corpse through the ominous, mysterious, and strange place. During their journey, Lewis sees and hears strange things all around him, which Judd explains as just being loons and St. Elmo's fire. And when they finally arrive at their destination, Lewis buries his daughter's cat in the sacred ground. The next afternoon, Church comes back, but is different and not like the same cat he once was. And he has a terrible odor of dirt and death. This disturbs Lewis, and he wonders if he had made a huge mistake. Judd tells Lewis about how he buried his dog Spot there when he was a boy, and other stories about this mysterious place. When Lewis asked if a person was ever buried in the Micmac burial ground, he answers with a shocked no. The following spring, Lewis spends a beautiful day teaching his young son how to fly a kite. Seeing how much his son enjoyed this, Lewis decided to take him out again and include the whole family. However, this day ended with tragedy. Gage, who thought he was playing a game, was running away from his parents, who were calling his name, and running toward the busy road near their house. Lewis had hoped and expected that his young son would fall before he got to the road. Unfortunately, this didn't happen, and Gage ran into the road at the same moment that a semi-truck was speeding by and was tragically killed. As you can imagine, this horrible tragedy was a living nightmare for the whole family. Lewis replays the day over and over in his mind, wishing he could go back in time to change the horrible events. This gets him to thinking about the Micmac burial ground and of Ellie's cat Church, who came back from the dead, despite the many warnings he receives from Lewis, who can't accept his young son's death, decides to take matters in his own hands. After his son's funeral, he sends his family away, telling them he will meet up with them later. His daughter Ellie has nightmares and has a strong feeling that something horrible is going to happen. However, Lewis ignores his daughter's fears and her pleas of not wanting to leave. Insane with grief, Lewis digs up his son's grave and brings his body to the mysterious ancient burial ground, hoping his son will come back to life. Unfortunately, things go horribly wrong, and the aftermath of Lewis's decision has dire consequences. And this is where I'm going to stop the summary, because I don't want to give the whole story away, because you have to read it for yourself. And it's really sad. And I just want to say that when I was reading it, I kept saying, like, everyone's warning him what's going to happen. You saw what happened to the cat, how the cat acted, like, and not only that, I get, like, I'm a mom, but I think it's just selfish, because what if the kid's, like, damned forever? Like, at least if somebody passes away, may you have the hope that their soul's at peace, but, like, because you want to be with them, and trust me, I know, this is why I couldn't finish this, this is why I'm doing it now and not, like, in August when my last video was, because, you know, with my dad dying, it was kind of, like, close to home, because the whole book, the whole theme of the book is death. So it was a little hard for me. So I had to take some time before I did this. But yeah, I yelled at Lewis quite a bit while reading. It was very, very frustrating. And, like, when you read the end, after all of that, what he does, it's like, are you serious? Dude. So, I mean, it's like after a while, you kind of ask for it. Like I said, the theme of the story is death and the effects death has on a family. This is a very dark story, and if you are a parent, you may find this to be one of Stephen King's most terrifying books yet. Despite this, or because of it, if you enjoy Stephen King books, I would definitely recommend Pet Sematary. The character development is fantastic. Like I said, although I found myself saying, "What the fuck, Lois?" on more than one occasion. This is a well-written story that will suck you right in. And those are my thoughts on Stephen King's classic, Pet Sematary. In my next video, I will be giving my thoughts on Stephen King's epic fairy tale, The Eyes of the Dragon. So until then, long days and pleasant nights. Bye.